Mr. Speaker, will you please call the House to order?
The bill is passed.
We'd like to get a budget that represents the interests of the people who are standing here with me now.
To be part of the struggle to achieve a better society for all.
And that's why today I'm very pleased to cast my vote in the affirmative. Thank you.
Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of Assembly Update. I'm Ella Maria LeBlanc and today joining me is Assemblyman Angelo Santabarbara in District 111 representing the Albany, Montgomery, and Schenectady counties. Santabarbara recently introduced a number of measures aimed at passenger safety in the limousine industry. And on a related topic, he joins us today to talk about legislation aimed at addressing school bus safety. Hello, Assemblyman.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's great to be back.
Good to see you. Good. Okay, now of the bills that were passed, one was passed in the Assembly and the other in the Senate. So talk about the Assembly bill first.
Yeah, it's kind of a crisscross there with the two bills. And as you mentioned, we talked about the limousine safety and passenger safety on the last time I was on the show here, which is something we'll continue to work on. But related to that is school buses. You know, we talked about the limousine industry having a number of high occupancy, a lot of passengers. Here we're talking about children, kids on their way to school. These two bills are meant to increase safety because one of the things we are trying to address here is cars illegally passing school buses. Now you may think that doesn't happen very often, especially when the school bus is stopped and the lights are on. There are a significant number of cars actually passing these school buses, and during the time when school buses are picking up and dropping off children. The recent report that led to all this was issued by the New York State Association for Pupil Transportation, and the numbers are staggering. It reported that as many as 50,000 cars per day pass a school bus picking up or dropping off children. You would think that's just not possible. But there we have it, the statistics. And of that, more than 2,000 are passing on the right side. So a very dangerous situation, happening a lot more than anybody ever imagined. And these two bills are meant to address this issue. And we're hoping to pass both of these bills in each house. As you heard, as you said, one of them was passed in the Senate, one of them was passed in the Assembly. The one in the Assembly is the legislation that actually allows what's called a stop arm camera. So people driving down the road, they see a school bus stop, they see that stop arm come out. What this legislation does now is it allows that camera to actually be installed to take photographs of vehicles if they do pass school buses illegally.
Okay. And as you said, the numbers are staggering. And I know it's been an issue across upstate New York with a number of cars passing on the wrong side. So if you could just talk more about, I guess, about that.
Yep. What the bill, and this is a bill, again, the numbers are very real, what we saw. The problem now, you know, we're seeing this situation, we see the numbers. The problem right now is that unless law enforcement sees a vehicle pass the school bus, it's very hard to enforce the violation, to hold the people accountable. So, you know, if there's a police officer around or somebody happens to see it, that's in law enforcement, they could go after that individual and hold them accountable and make sure that they are subject to the law and passing the bus illegally to be held accountable for that. But without that happening right now in the current law, it doesn't seem like there's much that can be done about this. So what this bill does now is it adds that camera to actually take photographs of vehicles if they do pass. Now law enforcement has something that they can use to hold people accountable to make sure that they are not getting away with these violations. You know, when you pass a school bus, you know, it puts kids in danger. You know, when you put your kid on the bus in the morning, you want them to get to school safely. In upstate New York, as you mentioned, there's a lot of weather issues, a lot of other dangers that are present just getting the bus to school. We've got to make sure our roads are safe, got to make sure that the snow is cleared, so on and so forth. But this type of violation very dangerous to children. We want to make sure that this law addresses that, and I think it's a good start for us here in New York State. We'd be joining 15 other states that have passed similar legislation. So this is something that's actually overdue, that we should have this type of 21st century technology to help law enforcement do their job to enforce these life-saving laws.
Right, exactly. Now, the second bill, is that a companion bill? Explain what that is.
Yeah, the second bill, as you said, it was passed in the Senate, so we hope to pass it here in the Assembly. The second bill, of course, is the violations we talked about. So the penalties, are they harsh enough? And we took a look at some of the penalties, and I have a list of them here, and we decided they're not. We want to increase the penalties for first, second, and third offenses, and they go up significantly, all the way up to $1,000 per violation, which is a significant increase in what we've seen in the past. So I want people to know that this is an issue we take seriously. If you're going to pass a school bus and you're going to do it illegally, the stop arm camera's gonna capture the photo. They're going to find out who you are, and the penalties are very significant. But also, in addition to that, up to 6 months in prison. So the violations have been increased. That's that second bill, and it is a companion bill because it works with the stop arm camera bill to be able to identify who's doing this and to be able to hold them accountable. So that's a second bill that actually works with the first bill. So we hope that the combination of these two bills can start to make a difference and reverse this trend, and we hope to see the next report. We'd like to see that no cars are passing school buses. But hopefully these fines, increased fines, and this new technology that will now be employed for law enforcement to use can make a big difference in the numbers that we've seen.
Right. Now, I know you've heard from people in your district. What are their major issues and concerns?
Yeah, and we hear from people, bus monitors, bus drivers. You can virtually talk to people that work on a school bus, or you can even hear from kids, from students that see it. Some of the students, juniors and seniors that are in the school district, they will tell you it happens just more often than you'd ever think. So school districts are certainly concerned about this. So we've heard from school bus drivers, from monitors, and it's almost something that it's something that's just unexpected, but they see it more often than not. And it's to the point now where something has to be done, and I think the legislation is a good start. So certainly parents are concerned about this because once this report was released, it was just hard to believe. So you get calls about it, you hear about what's being done about this. Certainly we have to do something about this, and I think these bills are a good step in the right direction on addressing this. So once these bills are in place and law enforcement begins to take action, we will take a look at the numbers and see if further legislation is needed at that point. But we do want to make it clear that these type of violations where you're putting kids in harm's way will not be tolerated in our communities.
Right, exactly. Now, when the legislation when does it go into effect once it gets passed?
So the legislation, once both bills are passed, it will hopefully take effect sometime this year, depending on when the bill is actually signed into law. We're hoping to get municipalities to work with the school district to, it's going to take some time to install the cameras, to get cameras, install them. Also work with law enforcement on how the operation of these cameras are going to work. As I said, 15 other states already have this type of a monitoring system in place. So it's been a very effective tool at reducing numbers in these other states. So we hope to see the same here in New York, because again, in the past, I think the law that's on the books now is just not working with seeing these kind of numbers. So sometime this year, if we could pass the bills by the end of the session, I know there's not too much time left, but it's good that at least one bill has passed in the Senate and one bill has passed in the Assembly. So hopefully these will cross over now, and we can have a bill that can be sent for signature to become law. And I suspect with what we're talking about, this will happen rather quickly.
Good.
Yep.
And you want that to be sooner rather than later.
Exactly.
Now, how can people learn more about the progress on this legislation?
Well, these bills, are priority bills for this year, so I think that people can visit my website. We send out releases and updates on bills like this. Also, the Assembly website is a good place. I have a newsletter where people can sign up to be able to keep up to date on legislation like this and know what's coming up in the future and keep track of bills like this and where they are, what their status is. Also, I would expect people to be able to. It's great to have technology now in the Assembly chamber for people to live stream when this bill comes to the floor, to be able to see what is said about this bill and how track its progress. The big thing will be, once the bill is passed, also talking to your local municipalities and your school district, because once the bill is passed, that's one thing. Then to get the technology implemented, get the police department, get the school districts together, that's the next part of it. So, any opportunity parents or people have to talk to their school district about this bill and, maybe to begin planning, what would be, how this would roll out in their particular district, I think is important. Certainly school bus drivers want to see this happen, and there has been, discussion on this in the past, but this is we're seeing progress on this now on this issue. And again, the big number is working with the New York State Association for People Transportation. They also have a website that you can visit and actually view that report and see exactly what's happening, at breakdown in areas of the state. So I think it's a number of ways people could stay up to date. Again, by the end of session, I hope to see these bills passed and put into law.
Right, exactly. Now, are there any other bills that are in the Assembly regarding safety issues?
Yep, there's a number of other bills that we talked about with limousine safety. The passenger safety, there's a bill that sets up a passenger safety task force that I think would include high occupancy vehicles, including school buses. I know school buses are a little bit different than limousines that we've talked about in the past, but I think it's along the lines of improving safety. So we hope to have more input from the experts in the field on how to make school buses safer, limousines safer in general. This has been a topic of discussion, especially with prom season coming up. And some school districts even asked parents if they wanted to not use limousines and use school buses instead to be able to transport students to their prom or senior ball or whatever the case may be. But there's always new technology emerging. And the stop arm cameras is not really new technology. Cameras are not new technology by any means, but to put them to use in this manner is a newer concept. So I hope to have a task force put in place through some legislation that takes a look at limousines, to take a look at technology like this and how we can improve safety in high occupancy vehicles in general, and have people serve on that task force that will be headed by Department of Motor Vehicles and Department of Transportation, but also have experts in the field. There are experts on school buses. They do know about things happening in other states, like the stop arm camera. That are part of this bill, but also any other improvements that we can do, and also decided, looking at these numbers, so if there's any further legislation needed on our part, they can send us that information so that we can make decisions here in the State Assembly. So I would urge people to visit my website, leave their comments on this issue or any other issue, sign up for my newsletter that we send out, that we also update people on legislation like this, and to contact their school districts and let them know their interest in this and let them know how important it is that once this bill is passed, that they have plans to implement these measures.
Okay, and like you said, they can go to the New York State Assembly website?
Yep, they can visit the website or my website. Through there, they can get to my website under my name, Assemblymember Angelo Santabarbara, or they can visit the main website and also live stream some of the debates that happen on these bills and other bills. Okay,
well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, great to be here.
It's always great speaking with you. We've been speaking with Assemblymember Angelo Santabarbara, representing District 111th in Albany, Montgomery, and Schenectady counties. I'm Ella Maria LeBlanc. Thank you, and see you next time.